I'm going to go ahead and get started and just welcome everyone to session 2. We're so happy you're here. We're going to have a guest facilitator in a moment. This session's on social health. We want to ask you a few things. I'm Lori Hewlett. I'm the current Vice President for Suffolk Zone Health Education, and I'm the President-elect of Suffolk Zone. And my co-host is Patty Broderick. We're both retired SHM teachers of 30 plus years, both in health education, both Cortland grads, go Red Dragons. But we just want to remind you a few things. If you could, we'd love for you to have your camera on. It's a lot easier for our presenter to present to your beautiful faces, your happy faces, rather than, just your name. In the chat, you could rename yourself if your name is like iPhone Kristen or Sexy Bitch 34. If you could just please rename yourself your proper name, put in your district, as well as your level that you teach. We'd surely appreciate it. Patty, how we doing, Gremillion? We have no audio for Patty Gremillion yet, so we're still waiting on her. So I do want to introduce you to her in a moment. I'll read her bio as soon as we get her audio going. Patty Broderick, want to talk a little bit about the zone and CTLE hours?
If anybody needs CTLE hours, you just have to be a member of New York State AFERD, and you can join. You can still join if you want to. If you need a certificate of attendance, you're going to send an email. Where is it, Lori? Where do they send the email to?
You're going to send it to suffolkzone@gmail.com.
Okay.
And we can get you a certificate of attendance if you need it for your superintendent or your chairperson or whatever in your school district. But we do encourage you to join. We have lots of free webinars and advocating for health education, for physical education. Now more than ever, we really need your support. There are a lot of benefits that come out of being a member of New York State AFERD. Patty Gremillion, anything yet, my love? Oh my goodness. The ironic part of this is Patty Gremillion has been working with Patty Broderick and I for a week and a half now, practicing Zoom. And isn't it funny? This is one thing we didn't practice, Patty. Luckily, we have the gift of gab.
Yeah. Well, we can always have everybody put up, let's see at the bottom, your reaction. How is school going for everybody or work? So if you click on, you can only put thumbs up. I don't know why they don't have thumbs down.
That's all you get.
So, yeah.
I think somebody signed off and is going to sign back in for us in a moment.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for us that we can answer?
Yeah, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask us a question quick, if you'd like. I'm assuming everybody has tea, water, and coffee in those mugs.
And if you don't in your home, we're okay with it. Oh my God. Did everybody get out and vote? I hear the lines cleared up at this point.
Mailed it in.
Yeah.
All right, so Patty isn't even on the screen right now, so we're just waiting for her we got to admit her, that's what.
Oh, there we go. I just admitted all. So we're in. There you go. Let's see. Where is she?
All right, she's coming shortly.
Hello?
There we go. I'm going to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so our facilitator for this section is Patty Gremillion. She is a Master Certified Health Education Specialist who holds a master's degree in community health education and a master's degree in adolescent education, as well as an advanced certificate in the school distinction leadership, all from Adelphi University. Patty has been a health educator in schools and community for over 22 years. She is also a senior adjunct professor at Adelphi University. She teaches health and sports science college for over 17 years. She delivers health education content and methodology classes to undergraduate and graduate students for the Department of Health and Sports Sciences. She is also the recipient of the 2020 New York State AFERD Award of Distinction for a School Leader, as well as the 2020 New York State AFERD Suffolk Zone Higher Education Teacher of the Year. So we're very, very welcome to have her. She's currently working for Western Suffolk BOCES, and I believe she has a new position, and maybe she can expand on that a little bit. But welcome, Patty. So excited for you to be here to share with us your expertise on social health.
Thank you so much, Lori. Can everybody hear me now? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Right? Our worst nightmare, doing a presentation or getting observed and our technology doesn't work. So thank you to Lori and Patty and Suffolk Zone for having me. And of course, thank you for honoring me with the award for Higher Education Teacher of the Year. It's an honor and I appreciate it. A big thank you for Kim for starting off our meeting today, our conference, with her inspirational stories. It really set the tone for today, so I appreciate it. And for those of you who don't know, Lori Hewlett gave me my first teaching job in health education, and I worked alongside Patty. And look where we've come, so many years. We won't tell you how many, but it is all about the relationships you make. And I feel like we, as health educators and PE educators, we are really a small group, even though there's so many of us. So thank you everyone for being here today. I am going to share my screen and start my presentation. All right, can everybody see the screen? Okay, great. So as Lori said, I'm Patty Gremillion-Burdge. Many of you know me from the many years that we've been health educators working together, advocating for our discipline. Lori mentioned that, yes, I'm starting a new job. I'm leaving Western BOCES and going to Eastern BOCES. I'm going to put my administrative license to good use, and I'm going to be the, let me see if I can get it right, the Assistant Administrative Coordinator for Curriculum and Assessment in the Model Schools program at Eastern. But I will always be here as a resource for you, and you can get in touch with me at Adelphi or through Lori or my personal email address. So again, thanks for coming. There's me with my mask on. This is what we're doing now. It's no longer the new normal. It is the normal. I'm a big sunflower girl. There's a sunflower behind me too. So that's a little bit something about me. I love how sunflowers face the sun to get warmth and open up. And that's a little bit about my personality. So I'd like to start off today by asking you a question. This is a rhetorical question, and then we'll discuss it a little bit. But has the fundamental definition of social well-being and health changed since the onset of the pandemic? When we think about the 8 dimensions of wellness, or maybe you teach 11, do you feel that the fundamental definition of social well-being and health has changed? Put in the chat box for me if you think it's changed since COVID, since March. I got one yes, come on, all right, or a thumbs up or a thumbs down. People are saying yes. Do I have any no's, maybes? I don't know. It's too early, Patty, I haven't had my coffee. I think it's just become more important. Yes, it's changed. Yes, it's changed. Okay. So I will argue with my friends who say yes, that actually social well-being and how we think about social well-being and health hasn't changed. What's changed is your platform of how you're teaching it. But as teachers and educators and as leaders, we're all still working to build relationships, to teach kids the strategies on how to interact and form meaningful relationships with one another. But we're just doing it online for some of us, or we're switching from online to remote, to hybrid, to in-person. And while it's been difficult, some of you are really great rock stars with it. It hasn't really changed. Fundamentally, it's the same. And I know some of you can agree to disagree, and that's fine. But I'm going to tell you why today in the few minutes that I have with you, why it hasn't changed. So what has changed, unfortunately, oops, hold on. It's going to work. There we go. What has changed, unfortunately, is loneliness. We have an increase in loneliness. So just give me 1 second. I'm trying to make it so that the screen is different. All right. So would you agree? Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Has there been an increase in loneliness since the starting of the pandemic in February? Yeah, Joe says yes. Who else? Anybody else? Put in also in the chat box. Not only for us, but for our students, right? Kim talked about in the very beginning that we're confined to one place, correct? We don't have that opportunity to meet with our coworkers after work. Students can't go to sports. Maybe now you're starting to do intramurals and clubs, but we're feeling more and more lonely because we're feeling isolated. And the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is. And we can't hug one another, right? When we hug somebody or we touch somebody, we have that nice release of oxytocin that makes us feel good, that feel good hormone, and we're not able to do that. So our not only physiologically, but also mentally, our health is taking, taking a negative turn. My computer's not agreeing with me today. There we go. So Kim had such a nice inspirational start to and motivational start to our day. So don't worry, I'm going to turn this around. We're not going to focus on loneliness. But what we know is the quality of our relationships affect our physical and mental well-being. We know when we're lonely, we don't feel connected, we're more likely to have physical ailments such as being sick, which is something we don't want at this time. We don't want to catch a cold. We don't want to develop high blood pressure. We don't want to have stress. But during COVID, with all this unprecedented time and everything that's going on, stress is placing an even bigger toll on a person's health. And what we found is that researchers have compared loneliness to smoking cigarettes, and loneliness is the equivalent to 15 cigarettes per day. Both are as deadly as each other. And maybe John Martin, who I see is on here, can tell me if there's any relationship between vaping and loneliness. I'm sure there's some statistics on that as well. So nice to see so many familiar faces. I see some of my old Adelphi students, some of my old colleagues. So nice to have everybody here today. So we saw in Kim's beginning, I know it was emotional for some of you. I started off at Sachem. Unfortunately, I didn't know Desi, but I knew his story. And when Lori was talking about what the conference was supposed to be about today, focusing on him and what we get to do, I thought, you know what, that's a great motto, a great mantra. So we get to support students' social and emotional well-being, whether we're remote, hybrid, or a combination of the two, whether we're a coach or just a teacher from before, maybe they had us in the past, or just someone they see in the cafeteria when we do go back to having cafeteria. But we get to support their social and emotional well-being. We get to help them learn how to balance their social and personal time, how to bring their true self forward, engaging with people in the community, teaching them the skills to do it online. If they are feeling lonely, how can we engage them in our teaching? How can we encourage them to meet up with friends, maybe virtually or 6 feet apart in a safe setting? We get to learn how to show them how to treat each other with respect online, in person, etc. We get to show them how to maintain and build strong relationships. And that's been kind of hard during COVID. But also, I think it's been kind of fun for me personally. I've had a couple Zoom calls with old college friends, old sorority sisters, people who I normally wouldn't get together with. We've made a chance to have happy hours. And we're teaching our students how to create healthy boundaries that help with communication, trust, and conflict, and how to turn to friends for family and family for support. So I want to take a minute and turn off the PowerPoint for a second. But what I want to do with you today is, as we're talking about social and emotional well-being, I want to talk a little bit about teaching, but then I want to talk about you. And I have a great PowerPoint to share with you that actually there's simultaneous conference going on right now called the LIST Conference, Long Island Student Support Conference, and it's for mental health providers in our schools. And I made a mindfulness virtual bag for them. And so I'm going to share it with you today, and I want you to take it with you, and it's yours to use in your classrooms. It's yours to use professionally, personally, how you may like. I will share the screen with you. I will share the link with you so that you can do that. Lori had told us that we're going to speak for half an hour, and then the last 15 minutes we'll do a care to share, which reminds me of Health Nets. If anyone's been around that long, we used to get together at Adelphi and share our lesson plans back before there really was computers, dating myself a little there. And at the end, we had a lot of different lesson plans that we can go back and implement. So I think it's important, especially in this time, we don't get together and talk about what we're doing, that we take those last 15 minutes. So what I'm going to ask you is I'm going to ask you a question about how you're supporting your students' social well-being and development of their health skills during this pandemic. Somebody's saying they loved Health Nets. Actually, the Health Nets conference, on a side note, is not today. They decided not to do it, and they felt everybody was zoomed out. But they are going to be planning something online for you, those of you who loved Health Nets. So for a minute, I want you to think about, let me share my screen again. We're not going to share right now, but how do you support your students' social well-being and the development of their health skills, such as self-management and social awareness during remote instruction and social distancing? So think about that for a minute, and then we're going to come back to it. I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat. I'm going to ask to hear your voice, or maybe we'll even get crazy and put the whiteboard up. But in the meantime, I want to talk about some of the strategies that I've been using teaching at Adelphi, some of the strategies that I've been seeing some of you doing, and then take a moment to talk about self-care. And the most important relationship is the relationship you have with yourself. And we all know if we're not feeling healthy and we're not feeling well, that transpires over to our students, and they can tell because they have a relationship with us. They get to know us. So some of the ways that I've been practicing supporting students' social well-being and health. Earlier in August, I had a health and PE professional learning community with Charlie Rizzuto. And we had 80 of you come, which was great. And one thing I talked about was the SEL 3 signature practices playbook. And all of us here, health and PE teachers, we're the experts on SEL. Don't tell Castle Learning I said that. But we've been teaching SEL for years. But what I found is there are some strategies that I can implement and do on a regular basis so that it's more structured. And the one way that I do that is through the SEL Signature Practices Playbook. And what that is a playbook that has a welcoming inclusion activity, and then an engaging activity in the middle, and then ending all of your lessons with an optimistic closure. So this PowerPoint I'm going to give you, and it's going to have all the links, but just so you can see it, I'll bring it up right here. Sometimes I have to stop share and share again. Can you see it? Let's see, I'm looking in my chat here. No, you can't see it. All right, so let me stop my share and share again. So can we see it now? All right, great. Thanks, Marissa. So this, sorry, that's my dogs. This is the SEL Signature 3 Practice Playbook. It's very easy to read and very easy to use because of those 65 pages, it's set up. Here's a bunch of welcoming activities. Here's a bunch of engaging activities. Here's a bunch of optimistic closures. And a lot of optimistic closures would be the same as if you were doing an exit ticket, etc. So I'll just scroll down and show you, sorry if I'm making you sick a little bit. It goes over what each of them are. So a welcoming inclusion activity helps build our community. An engaging activity is strategies that engage students, obviously in the class. And then an optimistic closure is the sense of accomplishment and support forward thinking going forward. So I will give you the link to this, but here's just an example of how to use the playbook. Sorry, I'm making you a little bit sick. I love books like this. There's your example right there. You can plug it right into your activity. A lot of you use Four Corners in PE and health. Here's an example of how you can do it maybe online. So this is a great resource. If you haven't heard about it before, I know those of you, sorry, that were on the health and PE learning community, professional learning community, I already shared this, but this is a great resource. Another way that all of you have been working to support student social well-being and health is by having discussion starters, hosting social gatherings. In October, we had Spirit Week. A lot of you did Red Ribbon Week online with your schools. You may also be doing human bingo or scavenger hunts. Everybody's closing their videos and then someone's asking a question, like for example, everybody who has siblings, please undo your video and say that's me. You know, working online has been remote, you know, has been difficult for me as well as all of you, especially at Adelphi. I've been seeing some very interesting behaviors when I break out into breakout rooms. But what I have been noticing is that I have been getting to know students on a more one-on-one basis through their work, through the assignments. So I am grateful for that because I'm doing a lot more assessing of what they're doing, you know, online. So when you build relationships and rapport with your students, it's no different than when you were doing it when you were in person. You just have to be a little creative. And what I want to say about that is many of you are rock stars when it comes to integrating technology into curriculum. But remember, the teaching always comes first, and you have what it takes. It's just a different platform. And when I used to teach health and have student teachers come in and they'd come into the classroom and they were PE teachers, they would stumble a little because they were like, I don't know how to teach in the classroom. I only know how to teach in the gymnasium. And I'd be like, it's the same thing, but different. And that's how I feel about what we're doing right now. It's the same thing, but different. Once we get past that anxiousness about it being a different platform, we know that we have the skills to be able to be effective teachers and be effective supporters of social and emotional well-being for our students. Lori, what time do I have till?
You have until 10:05.
Oh, great. So what I would like to do now, but first I'm going to ask you if there's any questions or comments or epiphanies about anything that I'm saying. Has anything resonated with you? And then I'm going to show you the mindfulness virtual bag that I created because it all does start with you. And I wanted to give you some tools you could use in your classroom as well as for yourself and with your families. So you can put it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself if there's anything you're thinking about, you want to comment on. I know there's a lot of us, but I'm sure one of us would like to speak up and share something. Oh, can you repeat? It's lagging a little. Sorry. My son's not up playing a video game, so I don't know what the problem is. He's still sleeping. I said, is there anything that you want to share before we continue? Anything, any epiphanies, thoughts, ideas, disagreements? I'm welcome to them all. Marissa said she liked the idea of the human bingo. All right, it's early. Remember, good teaching, just I'm going to slide this in. One thing I've been finding difficult and I have to remember to do is give a 5-minute pause between, you know, asking the question and then waiting for the response, right? Because we're looking at all these faces and we're waiting for a response and we get like a little anxious, at least I do. And I continue to go on with my curriculum and I have to remember it's okay to pause, even though we're just staring at each other in these little boxes. Yeah, so 5 seconds. And then you wait for the second response and it's another 5 seconds. Heather's looking forward to that mindfulness bag and incorporating mindfulness Mondays. So let's go. Let me put that up for you. So practicing self-care, all of this discussion about social and emotional well-being and strategies really starts with you. So once you start to put yourself first and take some time out for you, then you could be better at teaching your students these strategies. So this is the virtual mindfulness bag. When I click on this link, it takes you to Nassau BOCES. Oh, we got to say that. I'm just showing you where it is. Can everybody see Nassau BOCES on the top? No? Okay. Don't worry. So this is where you're going to be able to find it, but I'm also going to put the link in the chat box, and then I'll give it to Lori and everyone at Suffolk Zone to share with you. But what I'm reviewing with you now is this virtual mindfulness bag or virtual mindfulness room, and you can see it here. I'm not going to click it on here, but that's where it is. And I'm going to quickly copy this for you, and I'll put it in the chat box. And there you should have it there. Someone is explaining the human bingo. How do you play that when the boxes are always changing? Oh, that's true. As people come off and come on. We'll go over that in a minute, or I'll send you a link, Nancy. Great question. All right, so let's get to the virtual mindfulness bag. So these, can everybody see it now? Lori, give me a yes if you can see it, or Patty in the chat box. It's hard for me to see the people. Okay, Maddie, thank you so much. So I created this as a self-paced, asynchronized learning experience. You can have it in a PowerPoint form, and you can take and choose whatever you want from it. If you're using it in PowerPoint, everything is linked. And if you can't link on it, then the links are also found in the notes page. And look for the symbol for quick tips if you have if you're having problem getting it to start, or there's some quick tips for me that I decided to share that I thought would be helpful while you're doing the mindfulness virtual bag. So it's broken up actually into 4 sections: breathing, meditation, coloring, and mindfulness. So different activities. So when working with your students and talking about mindfulness and breathing, remember the acronym DAS: deep, abdominal, slow, and smooth. A great resource that we have found at Western Suffolk BOCES, and my colleague Karen is on today, is the Monday campaign. It's a great resource, and you can find a lot of these infographics there, and I've included it in the slide. But if you want to start today, we can just do a quick belly breathing. It's good for our brain. And the Monday campaign, the whole idea is that every Monday we start a lot of times new habits. We usually start on a Monday. If it's Sunday and we overate, we're like, oh, we'll just start Monday, right? So that's where the Monday campaign comes in. And there's a Monday campaign for worksite wellness, for stress management, for several different campaigns. So right now, if you want to just place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly, and inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4, making sure your belly's expanding. That's why your hand is there. And exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. So we'll do this once, and then I'm going to show you some fun infographics that is also on this webpage. So again, everybody inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Make sure your belly is expanding, and then exhale for a count of 4. Continue this breathing cycle for a few minutes, and you should feel some of the stress leave your body and your mind become calm. Now, of course, don't do this with students when they're at a 10 and just say to them, oh, just do some deep breathing because they're here. Most of the time when we're feeling stressed and we want to integrate one of these mindfulness techniques or meditation techniques, stress management techniques, we want to do them at like a 5. Once we get to a 10, it's a little bit more difficult. So here's some list of the different Monday campaigns: Meatless Monday, Move It Monday, Distress Monday, Quit, Stay Quit, Cook Monday, and Caregiver Monday. This is a great infographic, another breathing exercise. If you have the PowerPoint, all you have to do, it's a video. You have to click on the link right here and breathe with the heart. So everybody, if you want to just take a deep breath, try to hold it as much as you can. Be careful if you have asthma or any other breathing conditions, and let it go. Again, breathe in, breathe out. Another breathing exercise we have, what we could do is breathe with the shape. Again, you can click on the arrow on the PowerPoint. And again, you could breathe in and out with the shape. So how this PowerPoint is set up is there's 4 examples of different coping techniques that you can use in this bag, and you could share with your students or use for yourself. Lori, I want to leave time to make sure we can care and share. I'm going till 10:05, right?
10:05 would be the end of this session. So if you wanted to leave time for Q&A or care to share, you would end a little bit earlier.
Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm just going to go through the slide really quickly and show you the other things that are there. Some of you may have already been on the Nassau BOCES page and downloaded. That's great. Again, the links are in the notes if it doesn't work for you. But again, let's go through it and see some of the other ones that are on here. So this one's fun. This is the kids one that you can do. It's from YouTube. So if YouTube's blocked at your school district, you try to find the workaround. And basically what you do is you learn how to breathe by following the square. Oh, I don't think I shared my sound. Hold on. Got to share your sound in order for you to hear it. Okay.
Back straight and
Can you
body
hear it?
relaxed. Let your arms hang by your side if you're standing. Or if you're sitting,
Oops, it stopped. Hold on.
rest your hands on your knees. Now we're going to silently count to 4 as we breathe. Follow the picture on your screen and breathe in as the arrow moves up one side of the square.
And everybody can do it now
Hold
if you
your breath
want.
at the top. Breathe out as the arrow moves down the other side. And hold your breath again at the bottom. Okay, starting on one side of the square. Breathe in.
All right,
2,
ladies and gentlemen, this
3,
is us.
4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out all the way. 3, 4. And hold your breath. 2, 3, 4.
Okay, I'll move on and show you another
Breathe
one
in.
that's on here. Now we have color. Actually, I've been doing this a lot, and I didn't know that PowerPoint actually has its own template if you have the newest Microsoft Office, and it has the pictures on there. So you could relieve stress by coloring and doodling these flowers and animals, and you can print these out right from the PowerPoint, have your students do them. If you're taking a mindfulness minute break, or if they're telling you you're experiencing stress and they're looking for a coping mechanism and they like art and coloring. And then you go on, and then we have meditation videos. I'm just going to show you them, and then we'll break out and talk about things we want to share. But it talks about how to meditate. There's an article here that links to it, how to get settled and find a quiet space, and then the 10 steps that you would take to meditate. Then I also included some body sound meditation and a loving kindness medication. Again, all the links are on this PowerPoint for you. This is a YouTube video, relaxing piano music. When you meditate, and if you can't use the word meditate in school, I understand that. If you want to just say practice breathing and not yoga, for example, you could just call it something different. I'll just show you what this sounds like a little. I like to use sleep sounds to go to bed, so that's a great one for that. Corey Mascara, many of you may know because he's a Long Islander. I've been taking some of his classes. During COVID, he had 21 days of meditation. You can get them all online for free. He was doing it through Facebook, so he's another great resource. And then how to be mindful. This goes over the steps you need to take to be mindful. There's some great videos on here for kids and for yourself. And then Mindful Teachers has some great handouts you can use with your students. You can ask them to get a snack and then walk through how to be mindful when they're eating. Or you can have them take a quick walk and use their 5 senses. And you could do it together as a group, or you can have them do it and then come back and share. But what did they see? What did they hear? What did they smell? What did they touch, etc. So that is the mindfulness virtual bag. It's for you to have. Use it as, as any way that you like. Just make sure if you are using it that you pay attribution to the people who I put in there, Corey and the mindfulness teachers, etc. So we have a few minutes left. Not that many, I apologize. Let's go back to the question that I asked you from the very beginning, is how do you support your students with developing their health skills, their social and emotional skills during remote instruction or hybrid or in person during this very unprecedented time? If you'd like to share in the chat box, or if I would love it if I'd hear somebody's voice who wants to share. That would be great. I won't bring the whiteboard up because we don't have a lot of time. Shannon's saying, I start every class with a little mindfulness yoga. We set an intention for ourselves. I love that, Shannon. Thank you. I set an intention today that I was just going to have fun and go with it today for Suffolk Zone. Being available other than scheduled class time. Yes, setting up meetings. Kids really don't drink coffee. Well, the high schoolers do. But you can have a little fireside chat, right? Mindfulness outside walks, yoga, breathing, meditation. Great. Thanks, Trish, for sharing. How else is everyone supporting? So thanks, Jay from Shore Rain and River. Nice to see you. Every class begins with the motivational thought of the day in the Google Classroom. Great. You can send them memes. When you're not in class, you can also send them emails. You can give them a call. You can send them postcards. Breathing sticks. Great. And I also have, here's my breathing stick right here, right? Breathe in, breathe out. Very easy to make with a pipe cleaner and beads. We get to it all in my classroom. We all have students share something they're thankful they got to. We also do journaling. Great. Thank you for sharing. Every class begins with a guided meditation. Oh, tapping. I like tapping. Acupressure. Wow, on the high school level. Thanks, Nicole, for sharing. Wellness Wednesdays. Oh, they get to choose from a stress management choice board. Right. We want to give students voice. We want to give students choices. So if you have the time to make a choice board, that's awesome. And these, of course, we could use in PE and health in all of our classes. You could set up challenges and then have students do a flip grid of them doing the challenge. We just have times for students to talk and share. Sure, that's what a morning meeting is in elementary school or an advisory period in high school. Sources of strength. Yes, Jim, thanks. That's a great resource. And again, a lot of stuff on the Monday campaign. Providing them with mindful meditations. How do you develop relationships online? How are you helping them support relationships with one another? That's part of our social health. What kind of activities are you doing so they're engaged? Besides breakout rooms, which I hope a lot of us are doing if we're doing Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So someone is saying, Marissa, she's having a hard time getting things from her students, spending a lot of time just checking in, very important. Icebreakers, team projects. The Flipgrid is great. Jamboard is another tool. But remember with technology, the teaching comes first. Remember SAMR, if you don't know what that is. SAMR, Substitution, augmentation, modification. You know, the tools that you're using, don't just say, oh, I want to use it, has all the bells and whistles. It has to meet your objectives, your student learning outcomes. So you need to think about them first and then say, okay, will Padlet work with this? Will Slido work with this? Whatever tools you're allowed to use. Kathleen said she just completed the Dash Challenge, where they shared about themselves and at 3 different ages. Ed Puzzle, Pear Deck, yep. Nearpod, great. And the good practice about all the technology is just learn 3 really, really well. You don't have to learn all 70 million of them. Just learn 3 really well. Google Forms surveys, great. Yeah, checking in. Anybody else have any comments, thoughts, epiphanies? So let me close then today. Red Ribbon Week activities really engage my students. Yes. I mean, those of you that were able to participate with Halloween, students got to dress up at home, wear masks, talk about their character. Some of us are transitioning to distance learning back and forth due to COVID cases. So I mentioned earlier the SEL activities, and I see my time is going now. So I would like to end with what we would call an optimistic closure, although it doesn't have to be an optimistic closure. It could be give one, take one. But I would like to end this by saying, how did you show up today? You know, it's all about how you showed up, Kim said, right? So for today, for professional development, I don't mean, did you show up in your PJs? I mean, I have a nice shirt on, but I'll tell you, I got sweatpants on and slippers. All right. But how did you show up today? What was your mindset? You could do a reaction on the bottom, or you can do on your participants. You can find some of the different reaction. If you have them, for some reason on mine, I don't have them. But maybe that's because we're using suffix zones. Okay, John showed up with a, I don't know if that's excited, John, or Patty's got a thumbs up. Excited and nervous. Jen Mead, let's see. Happy, Mary. Anybody else want to say how they showed up? Anybody show up a little apprehensive? A little, here we go again, more PD. I just need a break. Open-minded, Jim like a sponge. I see some people have brought their family members, Jim. We'll say hello to your son. Thanks for joining us. Stronger than ever, thank you. Got to wear jeans today, great. I can't see very many of you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for everything that you do. You are the rock stars. Please remember, when you're supporting your students' social and emotional health, that you start with you first. You're the most important.